Welcome to Daily Office Devotions. I'm Reggie Kidd, and every Monday through Friday, I offer devotional observations on some portion of that day's readings for morning prayer in the Book of Common Prayer. I'm very glad to be with you this Wednesday following the 11th Sunday after Pentecost. This happens to be year 2 of the daily lectionary, and this week we are in Proper 16. Our readings today come from Job chapter 6 and 7, Acts chapter 10, and John chapter 7. Today we draw lessons from confusion and consternation experienced by Job, by Jesus' brothers, and by Peter. In his confusion, Job begins to pray. In chapter 7, Job lifts up a prayer of bitter complaint. Sour though it is nonetheless a prayer. There's no posturing here, no hiding the desperation of his heart behind safe religious bromides. Life itself feels like slavery under a cruel master. Chapter 7, verses 1 through 3. God treats us violently, moans Job, like we are some sort of threat to his sovereignty, wrestling us down like we were his enemies. The sea, divinized by the ancient Canaanites as the god Yam, and the dragon, the sea creature Tanin, associated with Yam. Chapter 7, verse 12. Days are swift interludes between nights that are filled with scary dreams and terrifying visions. Chapter 7, verse 6 and 13 through 15. Parodying the way Psalm 8 marvels at God's bestowing dignity upon humans despite their seeming insignificance. Job bewails God's making so big a deal of us that he presses down upon us with an unrelenting gaze. What is mankind that you make so much of them, that you give them so much attention, that you examine them every morning and test them every morning? Chapter 7, verses 17 through 19 in the NIV. Appreciate the consternation of Job. If I have sinned, what have I done to you? You who see everything we do. Job chapter 7, verse 20. Job knows that he's a sinner. In the Hebrew text, there's no if at the beginning of verse 20. Yet, Job knows that his transgressions have been covered by sacrifice. Chapter 1, verse 13. He knows that what is happening is out of scale to anything for which he is culpable. Why have you made me a target? Why have I become a burden to you? Chapter 7, verse 20. And so he whines, let me alone. Chapter 7, verse 16. He complains loud and he complains long, but he complains in the right direction, up. God often does things in a puzzling way. We can gloss things over, we can stuff our reactions, we can pretend everything's okay when it's not, or we can cry out to him and ask, what in the world is going on? Appreciate the consternation of Jesus' brothers. John says they don't believe in him. Chapter 7, verse 5. Actually, they do believe in him after a certain fashion. They believe in him enough to know that he's gained notoriety. He's turned water to wine and he's already cleansed the temple, according to John. See John chapter 2. If he were to show up in Jerusalem at a big festival, he would make a big splash. But they don't believe in him in the sense that they don't understand that he is the great I am who has come in the flesh to lay down his life for them and for the world. They urge him to use the upcoming feasts of booths in Jerusalem to further his cause and build his following. They don't get it. But Jesus says he's going to pass on the opportunity. His hour has not yet come. Instead, he lets them go ahead where various arguments are taking place about him. He doesn't tell them that he plans to attend anyway, as we'll see in tomorrow's reading, nor that he will use the occasion to reveal more about who he is and why he has come. But he leaves his brothers, for now, to be exposed to people's ambivalence about him. Appreciate the consternation of Peter. Peter was raised to honor kosher laws, Acts chapter 10, verse 14. In Matthew, he is challenged by Jesus himself to understand that clean and unclean are matters of the heart and not of externals. It is not what goes into the mouth that defiles a person, but it is what comes out of the mouth that defiles. Matthew chapter 15, verse 11. After the resurrection, Peter has been commissioned to make disciples of the nations. Matthew chapter 28. The implication of how that works hasn't yet dawned on him. The big reveal begins with today's story about the strange vision of an angel appearing to a hungry Peter. The angel lowers a big sheet to the ground with all kinds of four-footed creatures and reptiles and birds of the air. To Peter's amazement, the angel commands, "Get up, Peter, kill and eat." Acts chapter 10, verse 13. Peter protests that he can't violate kosher. The angel's reply should have changed everything for Peter instantly. What God has made clean, you must not profane. An aside, poor Peter. A number of things in Peter's life seem to require a repetition of threes. The cock crows 3 times when Peter denies knowing Jesus. After the resurrection, Jesus asks Peter if he loves him 3 times. So here we are possibly not surprised to observe that the whole conversation with Peter has to be repeated 3 times. And even then, it's going to take the events of our next 2 days' readings, the visit to Cornelius' house, to change Peter's mind. Especially if you are living with consternation about what God is up to in your life and in the world. I pray that your first instinct, like Job's, will be to pray honestly and boldly, if humbly, to God. I pray you will recognize that as with Jesus' brothers, the Lord works on his own timeline and to his own ends, not ours. And I pray that you will appreciate that as patient and persistent as the Lord was in revealing his ways to Peter, our Lord Christ can be just as patient and persistent with you. Be blessed this day.